it's a big step to turn a project into a company. There's so much you have to learn that you don't learn doing academic research. ZenVR is a virtual reality meditation classroom. Our goal is to teach meditation beyond relaxation. So there's all these like meditation apps out there that give you like this 5-minute burst of, oh, here, have your daily dose of meditation for the day, but you're tied to that app. And our goal is to create like a classroom experience if you went to a real meditation class and learn how to meditate.
Hey guys, welcome to the second episode of the Bigger Market podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Weiser, CEO of Go-to-Market Translations and Consulting. We're here bi-weekly to bring you everything you need from exclusive guests, interviews, tech reviews, and case studies on companies that we all know and love. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce you all to today's guest, the one, the only founder of the VR app called ZenVR, and the CEO of the company with the same name, I believe, Matt Golino. Welcome, Matt.
Hello, hello. It's a pleasure to be here, Jeff.
Thanks for coming in. Did I get that right? Is ZenVR both the app and the company name?
Technically, the company name is called Satori Studios, but we don't use that pretty much anywhere. So we just say ZenVR. We're ZenVR.
Perfect. All right. So we're going to talk all about ZenVR and many other topics that whatever we may get into. Look, Matt, today we'd like to discuss really anything that's important to you in terms of meditation, Zen Buddhism, ZenVR, really anything you'd like. The floor in general is yours. I do have some questions to kind of guide us along the way, if you like, and some definite selfish curiosity, because I'm really into this thing that you do. So I'm sure we'll get into that too. And yeah, I already look at you as quite an interesting teacher. So that's why you're here today. We're all curious.
I'm glad to be here, and I hope I can at least answer some of the personal curiosity and maybe some of the other stuff too.
That's awesome, man. So how about this? Tell us about you. Let's just start there. Tell us about your background, where you're from, your story with Zen meditation, Buddhism, whatever you like.
Sure, yeah. So my name's Matt. I am the founder and CEO of ZenVR. And I guess my background, how did I get to this point? So I'm not going to start all the way at when I was born and all that stuff, but basically I did my undergrad at Georgia Tech in computer engineering, got a good bit of software development experience along the way doing some internships, spent a couple of years working for General Motors as a software developer, doing front end, back end, transitioned into UX design for them, went to Georgia Tech for my master's degree in human computer interaction, which for those of you who don't know what that is, it's basically like user experience research and user experience design. So it's going out, understanding who the user is of a particular product, and then learning how to design around that, their user needs for them. Basically, anytime you're doing interface design or experience design, it's user-centric. That was my master's program. And I also kind of in that program had achieved a sort of interest in virtual reality. So I went through that program with a specialization in like learning about user experience in virtual reality. And kind of in parallel to all this, I kind of came out of undergrad in Georgia Tech with some like inklings of learning how to meditate on my own, and was really, really curious about building that practice, wanting to learn more. I'd only really been self-taught and kind of took to, I guess, studying it more. The funniest story for me is that I just randomly got an email one day from a local Zen monastery here in Atlanta, Georgia, that just said, free meditation class, this date, this time, this location. And I swear at the time I was like, I hope I'm not like signing up to be inducted into a cult or something. Like, this is a very strange email to get out of nowhere. But I went.
Yeah, like what is the monastery doing, marketing to you? What the heck? That sounds pretty fishy to me.
I mean, honestly, I to this day have no idea how they got my email address. I have no idea what list. I have no idea where I must have signed up for something. But at the time I was just like, well, the universe is putting this in front of me. Let's at least go check it out and see where it is. Like, nothing's free, but I'll take at least one free class. Well, turns out they did a whole series of classes, like basically a beginner curriculum on introduction to meditation and Zen and Buddhism and stuff. Totally free. I mean, and that's just kind of their vibe. And I went.
And Matt, what year was that? If you could tell me, I'm not sure if you already said.
No, I didn't. That was, gosh, I think that was like 2016 or early 2017. And I had been kind of into this space beforehand. Like I said, reading books, kind of self-taught, but that's when I really started a more like deeper study of it. And I realized there was this whole side of meditation that you don't really hear about when you're playing with meditation phone apps like Headspace or Calm, that you don't find if you're just reading the basic, like sort of self-help meditation books. But it's really, really fascinating stuff. There's a hugely rich history, like thousands of years worth of history of what is Zen and Buddhism and all these ideas that back up meditation. So I'm making this background take a long time, but basically took
Fine.
classes there for a couple of years. It was super fascinating. Went back to tech, did my master's program, and said for my master's thesis project, meditation has been a hugely impactful and excitingly interesting area of my life over the past few years. Can I integrate the two separate parts of me? The side of me that's like really, really into this mindfulness and wellness and exploring the mind, and the side of me that's studying user experience design and virtual reality. And I went into this master's thesis project with the question of, can you teach people how to meditate in VR? And can you do it like they do in a real meditation classroom, like the classes I had been taking for the years leading up to that point? And that was the birthplace of ZenVR.
Amazing, Matt. Dude, that's so I think what captivated me about you and the discussions we've had so far is that you project this very positive way of having navigated your path to where you're at today. And just I want to say you made me, and I'm sure many people, curious just about what the benefits of meditation can do. But as you said, it goes so much deeper. When people listen to you here talk for a few more minutes, I know, and that's what I'm excited about. They're going to go away wanting to know not just more about meditation, not just more about VR, but maybe more about Buddhism. These topics I think are quite interesting. So like I said, for my own selfish reasons, I want to bring you on here so I can learn more. But at the same time, nothing selfish about it. We want to share this with everybody out there. So yeah, what do you think people could most benefit from knowing from meditation, Buddhism, Zen meditation? What are the key concepts that you want to highlight?
Yeah, so I'll say like meditation in general. I mean, we all know stress, anxiety, depression, they kind of suck. They're not fun. We've all probably either dealt with them ourselves or know someone who's dealt with them, family, friends, maybe both. And I'm not going to say meditation is this like instant cure-all that like you're going to be solved of all your problems. It's a tool in your mental health toolkit. It's a way of learning and practicing how to be more at peace in your day-to-day life. And I think a lot of people understand that meditation is this thing that's good for them. But I think there's this question of, why don't more people meditate? And what I really think is missing is a clear path through learning meditation. You have like hundreds of books, if not thousands of books out there on this stuff. And it's hard to even know where to start. Like, what is the best book? What's the right book for me? What's making assumptions about what I already know? There's phone apps out there like, Headspace and Calm are two that I'll say. And they're fine. But what you see with them is this very watered down, very secular meditation that is just really mindfulness. Breathe in, breathe out, and don't think any deeper about it at all. It's really, really, really basic. And it's kind of watered down. All the stuff that, meditation is built on, it doesn't just exist in a bubble. It came out of Buddhism, out of the East. Over thousands of years, there's practices around meditation that support it and can help grow all the other aspects, help you integrate it into your life, help you kind of engage with your mind in different ways. And with ZenVR, we're kind of trying to teach in a clear, consistent way. We give a curriculum kind of very much in line with the idea of like how I kind of grew into learning meditation when I went to that monastery. And we also wanted to go deeper. It's not just about this 5-minute relaxation thing. There's so much more to it. And it's both super interesting and super beneficial.
That's great. And tell us a little bit about what we should know about meditation in VR, right? Going into your space a little bit. What does that market space look like? What was it like for you to enter into this niche, and do you even consider it a niche?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because VR in general is such like a developing space. It's a
Yeah,
frontier.
let me define that. Virtual reality, VR. Maybe people still don't know that, so I'm not
Yeah.
going to assume, right? VR, virtual reality. Sorry.
Yeah, and I think it's becoming more and more on everyone's mind. This week, Microsoft made some announcements about joining virtual avatars into their workspaces. Facebook, Meta now, has
Mm-hmm.
really, really just made a huge gamble with their entire business to focus on the metaverse and virtual reality. More and more eyes are turning towards VR. It's an exciting space to be in. But, working in this space, we're pioneers. We're working with technology that is constantly changing. We're working with frameworks that are not well tested. If you think about like web development, that's been around for decades. The frameworks that make it easy to build a web app are not established in virtual reality. So we're leading the cutting edge, which is really, really exciting, but it's also a pain sometimes. But, I think it's worth it. The goal is to have this thing, the ZenVR world, waiting for people when they come to virtual reality for the first time, so they can find us and they can learn meditation. They can experience what it's like to go to a real Zen dojo and learn from a teacher.
Okay, good. So this you're leading into my segue so nicely, man, by the way. Thank you for that. But yeah, I wanted to now, talk a little bit more about ZenVR, and where I saw the segue here is, you want people to come into VR and be able to find you and experience meditation through ZenVR. I have downloaded the app, like I told you a couple times. I can't wait to get into it. I know I need to take the courses that you have and have to go deep, and that's what I'm excited about. But tell us there about like your product market fit. How are you making sure that you're reaching the audience that you're trying to bring in?
Yeah. So when we first started this transition from a master's project into kind of a company with an app that people can buy and use, we were fortunate enough to be part of Georgia Tech has a program called CreateX, which is like a startup accelerator. And they saw what we were doing. They were excited about it, and they kind of felt that we were excited about it. So they brought us in on the cohort. This was not this past summer, but the summer before, so summer 2020. And
Okay.
we went through that with some guidance from them and did a whole bunch of customer discovery and understanding, who is our user, which is very much in line with what my master's degree was in, like user research type of stuff. And this is just kind of framing it in the product market fit. And we
Yes.
think we understand there's a ton of people that are actually really, really excited about this. So many people have dealt with like the struggles of stress and anxiety, that there's a lot of folks that are very interested in something different and something new. In virtual reality, I think we skew towards the slightly older population. So maybe not like the 13-year-old kid that's playing Beat Saber for 6 hours a day, but maybe the late 20s to 30s to beyond, kind of techie person who's interested in self-development and mindfulness. Maybe they've tried meditating once or twice before, but really didn't know where to go. Like maybe they had someone lead a meditation once and that's it, but they want more. And that's kind of who we see are the people that would really love ZenVR.
Excellent. And I know that sometimes finding out exactly who your users are is quite difficult, especially when you're dealing in the meta universe. I guess we're still calling it that. So can you tell me a little bit about what you have found out in terms of who actually is using ZenVR at this point right now?
Yeah. Well, I'll say like all of our users, all the people that have reached out to us or left reviews for us, have just given us this overwhelming positive response. They try ZenVR and they're like, wow, this is the real deal. I'm kind of talking myself up here a little bit, but like it really is. If you look at the reviews on our Oculus page, people have written like 4-paragraph reviews on us because they just kind of get it. When you try it out and you go through these classes and you understand it, you're like, oh, this was missing. You don't get this when you just do like a quick 5-minute meditation, or wow, I wish I had this guidance before, but now I have it, sort of thing. So the users that we're getting are super, super excited about ZenVR, and I think they want to see a lot more of what we've got to offer them.
Excellent. So can you talk a little bit about your plans to reach those people, or to your basically, what is your expansion plan? How is ZenVR expecting to grow to more people, more audiences, all of that over the course? I don't know if you want to talk about a year from now, 5 years from now. How is ZenVR looking into the future and bringing in more target audience?
Yeah, we have big plans for ZenVR. Like our vision is, I don't want to say massive, but we really envision ZenVR being this a virtual reality campus for meditation. Imagine you could go to a place and take courses, not just on our single curriculum that we have here, but branching off. Maybe we're the 1001, 1002, 1003 courses, great. But then what happens when you want to hear from a different teacher in a different school? 2002 Zen with this teacher, or class 3001. When I say this, I'm like referencing how colleges number their classes. Let's learn a little bit about Tibetan Buddhism. Let's learn a little bit about how this is taught in this area of the world, or how does this integrate into a different philosophy. So we're really looking to expand not just the single linear curriculum, but eventually branch out and tie these different things in and give people a place where they can learn in a way that fits them. Everyone kind of needs to learn meditation differently, needs to come into their own internal, how do I say it? Like internal exploration from the right angle for them. And that path might look a little bit different for everyone, might have the same fundamentals, but we want to give people that option to explore and branch out. And we want to be that resource, that place people can go. So that's the big vision for the future. The short-term vision,
awesome, man. Love it.
Yeah. The short-term vision is right now we have our first 4 lessons out. Lessons 5 and 6 are coming in the next week or two. We're just kind of wrapping up QA testing on them. And those are coming as a free update for anyone that has the app right now. Yes. 7 and 8. Yeah, you got it. 7 and 8 will be coming shortly thereafter. And then the next thing that's coming is we're looking at developing content packs with external meditation teachers. We've got our first guy, our first Zen teacher. He's from the Soto Zen school. And he's writing a pack of 4 lessons for us. And we're going to take that and start building that into a subscription model down the line, where we can have people kind of be a part of our growing curriculum. You have access to our full library of all the classes that all the teachers have created. You can explore different pathways. We're looking to build out meditative activities in our space. We've had some Georgia Tech students do some prototyping for us on some very cool ways to integrate like physicality and other forms of meditation in. We're building new environments, so it's not just meditating in our like little Zen dojo, but we have a mountaintop space is coming soon.
Nice.
And yeah, we have so much in the works. So that's kind of like the short term, like what are we trying to do right now? Kind of those are our big development tasks.
Incredible, man. So on that road, how is ZenVR doing it? Are you currently seeking investment capital? Have you already received some investment? Can you tell us a little bit about how you're funding either self or externally?
Yeah, so far we've been very self-funded. That accelerator I mentioned, they gave us a small grant in the summer of 2020, and we've been kind of using that to propel us forward. Now that we've got some sales, we're starting to invest back into ourselves to kind of grow things and look for ways we can market ourselves kind of organically, but with a little bit of extra boost behind it. And yeah, we are looking for investment now. Actually, we're starting to look at doing fundraising and how we want to do that. And I mean, if there's anyone that's interested in investing in ZenVR that's watching, send me an email.
Incredible. I'm sure some people are definitely going to be looking at this podcast or listening to it that are investing currently. So yeah, send Matt an email or me, or I'll get you in touch. Whatever you need. Like the purpose of Go to Market doing this Bigger Market podcast is to make these types of connections, and that's one of the reasons that we do this. We bring on people who we think are doing amazing things and should be able to do as much of that amazing thing as possible in this world. So absolutely happy to push that shout out.
Yeah, heck yeah.
I am going to go back though now to a question of my own curiosity that I think we didn't cover yet. Is Buddhism meditation? Is meditation Buddhism? How are they related? How are they separated? Is ZenVR Buddhism? Help me understand.
Sure. So the term Zen in and of itself comes from the Japanese school of Zen Buddhism. So when we say the term Zen in our day-to-day lives, I think we all kind of intuitively understand some degree of what that means, but maybe don't know where that came from. Like, oh, it means peaceful, it means calm, it means tranquil.
My hands go like this immediately when I think of Zen.
That
That's
is
what I
like
do. I
one of
don't
the
know why.
things we say in our first lesson. Like, you may think of a monk who has his fingers together and just goes Om when you think of meditation, but like, and I think that's what a lot of people have, is this like preconceived notion. So Zen is technically a form of Buddhism, and Buddhism is not just meditation. It is like a whole philosophical framework. Some people get like weird about like, is Buddhism a religion or a philosophy? Every way that I look at it, I see it as a philosophy. It doesn't ask you to believe in anything. It doesn't ask you to pray to anybody. It's a set of practices and worldviews that anyone can incorporate into their life. And it pretty much meshes well with any existing philosophy or religion out there. So I think that it's very, very, very much something that anyone can graft into their own existing worldview. At its core, Buddhism basically has a set of ideas. They're called the Four Noble Truths, that people basically say, you know, suffering exists in the world. There's a cause of suffering. There is a way to kind of make your path out of suffering, and here's what that path is. And that's the most high level version of it. I could talk about this stuff for a very, very long time. But basically, part of that path out of the cessation or the ending of one's own internal suffering is through meditation. It is a tool to kind of bring your awareness to the present moment, to notice what's happening in your life, to break free of the attachments, the hang-ups, the things that you're clinging to in life, and letting them go. So meditation is not all of Buddhism, but it's a pretty important part of it, especially Zen Buddhism, which is like, it's less focused on any of the I'll say less on like the more spiritual aspects that one might say, and just really like, hey, let's just take a moment, let's sit, let's be here present now and breathe.
Excellent. Thank you for that explanation. I'm about to start my journey, I think, with Buddhism on a high level. I was looking it up the other day, just going from sheer ignorance of what it is to knowing that there was a person who lived, who actually had a public life, and after his time of solitude where he meditated 40 days, that was quite an interesting number for anybody who knows anything about Christianity and other religions, that 40 days. And so I can't wait to learn in ZenVR. I'm really personally excited to learn in ZenVR.
Yeah. And I'll say this, one of the things about Buddhism and the historical Buddha, and for anyone that doesn't know, Buddha just means the awakened one or the enlightened one. The historical Buddha was a real person who lived about 2,500 years ago. And he was not a god. He didn't claim to be a god. He didn't claim to have superpowers or anything. He's just like a guy that woke up, that had a series of realizations that he goes on to share with the world. And Buddhism is kind of the teaching of those realizations, and the ways that it has developed over the centuries has just been different teachers taking the original ideas and kind of reframing them to the times and the needs of the people that they're being taught to. I think one of the interesting things about it is like Buddhism originated kind of in northern India and transitioned to China and Southeast Asia and Japan. And it made those transitions multiple times. And it has now transitioned kind of to America and to the rest of the Western world. And the interesting thing is that each time it translates from one culture to another, it takes stuff that it picked up wherever it came from, and then it adapts to whatever exists wherever it ends up next. So Buddhism moving from India to China picked up a lot of Taoism. Buddhism moving from China to Japan picked up some Shintoism in there and picked up some practices that were already existing at the time. Buddhism moving from Japan and other places, because it's actually come to America in a few different jumps. Japanese Buddhism, Zen Buddhism is like one of the most prominent ones that you see here in the United States. Just because the post-World War II cultural exchanges that happened.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah. It allowed the philosophy to kind of get a foothold here, especially in California. You have the San Francisco Zen Center has been around since then when
Hmm.
post World War II's, a lot of like Japanese teachers came over, a lot of Japanese immigrants came over. And um, it was a time when the philosophy was able to grow and gain interest, and it kind of resonated with the, we'll say the hippie philosophies of the time kind of really picked it up and we're like, oh, hey, this is a cool idea. So there's a lot of
Yeah.
overlap there. But that's actually what I'm saying is like, as this stuff comes to America, now we see this new like American Buddhism, American Zen here. That's not exactly like the stuff that came before it. But it's calibrated to what our society needs, what the stresses and anxieties of modern day United States are different than feudal China, a few thousand years ago.
Hmm.
It's different. And so the way it's being taught now looks and tastes a little bit different. And I think ZenVR is a part of that. We're not just teaching Buddhism in our VR app. It's definitely a big influencer in what we do. And obviously we're called ZenVR. So clearly this is like an undercurrent throughout it all. We're not here to like convert people or anything, or make people believe a certain thing or think a certain way. We're just sharing a set of philosophies. And honestly, we want to integrate other schools of thought as well. So we bring like Stoicism ideas in here. We'll reference ideas from like Taoism or even Christianity or other places when they fit and mesh together to create this holistic, I'll say like the American Zen, that's this mishmash of all the stuff that came before it. And ZenVR is kind of this amalgamation of how do we teach to the modern generation what they need to hear in a platform that reaches them the way that they'll want to hear it. That's a lot.
No, it's just what I at least think when you talk about it, it's not a lot because I'm hanging on every word. I seriously find you fascinating. And what resonated with me there is that as I get to know Buddhism, I'm curious how much culture is how culture, like you noted basically that culture sticks to Buddhism, Buddhism sticks to culture. I'm curious about how, like, my background is in languages and understanding how to do business around the world, and so I can't wait to discover just where are those hooks between culture and Buddhism. What do they mean? How are they? I had a dear friend who passed away recently, who I know she was Buddhist, and so I know that she probably in Argentina, where she was, incorporated a lot of the Argentinian culture in whatever way that might be, maybe just enlightening in maybe some of the traditions around food and celebrations in the country and things like that. So I'm curious about all that.
So I'll say this because I just think it's so incredibly fascinating to examine this side of Buddhism and how it's transitioned through the world. Is if you think about it this way, when Buddhism transitioned from India to China already had Taoism and Confucianism and a pretty established set of like philosophies that everyone just kind of inherently understood. It was taught, it was spoken about, they had words for it already established in the language. Buddhism talks about concepts that are sometimes very abstract. So when coming from one language and one culture to another, the easiest way to teach these abstract concepts is to kind of graft it onto the language that already exists there. To say, oh, okay, Taoism has some of these ideas in it. Can we use that language people are already familiar with? Use the metaphors and the stories that are being taught there and integrate them. And it's not necessarily this like intentional thing where there's some mastermind behind it. This is just the organic way of transmission from one place to another. And
Sure,
I think,
the concepts have to be communicated.
yeah,
They have to be communicated. We spoke, what, last week was it, at the Spatial Ape meetup, about the metaphor of the mountain and how enlightenment is, getting to the top of that mountain. That's a metaphor. That metaphor may not stick as well as like, kicking a perfect soccer goal for some people, right? And what feels like and doing it every time, and you're like, who knows, right? I think that's just so amazing how Buddhism seems to transcend language. So the idea of the enlightening you can't put into words, but yet we have to.
Yeah. And I think, one of the ideas that's actually built into Buddhism is this idea of teaching with skillful means, which is the teacher has to see who they are teaching to, not just like the culture, yes, the culture, but also the specific students, what language, what ideas, what metaphors will reach this person? What will help them get these ideas? And so trying to translate that is challenging, but I think it's kind of the fun of working with this stuff and wanting to teach it to more people. And so I'll just kind of, to bring it back to ZenVR real fast, like we don't start by diving into the deep end for people. We know that there's a lot, like when I talk about like thousands of years of cultural context, and transitions and translations, like that's a lot for people. And that's why I think people get lost trying to learn about meditation and where to start. We start with the basics. You're going to learn the basics of just meditation. How do I do meditation? What should I do? How do I incorporate that into my life? And as we build out our curriculum, we are going to be incorporating more and more of these deeper ideas, more and more of these like concepts. In lesson 5, which is coming out soon, the topic is impermanence, which is a huge concept in Buddhism and suffering. And we frame that with different metaphors. We use like an ancient Persian story. We use the serenity prayer, which, you know, if you're curious what that is, check out lesson 5. We use all these different things. We talk about the types of suffering that are described in Buddhism, how to incorporate that into your life. We don't do that in lesson 1 because it's kind of like a little bit too much. We build to it. And that's the idea of ZenVR, is like we want this curriculum to guide people into this world of so much rich philosophy and thought, and also just the practice of meditation. We want to do it in a way that works for people.
Excellent. Amazing, Matt. Thank you. So look, I just want to open up the floor before we start to conclude and see if there's any questions that you had that maybe, or not questions that you had, but did you expect to hear any questions today or talk about any topics that we haven't covered yet? By all means, let's get to that.
Gosh, let's see. I mean, I I could talk about this stuff for basically forever, and I enjoy doing it. But talking about ZenVR and the app and where we're going, we're really excited for more and more people to try out the app. I think getting people excited about these next lessons that are coming out and this new teacher who's going to be bringing some more content is really, really a cool thing. We're actually doing a key giveaway. We're going to be giving away 25 ZenVR keys in the next, I think in the next week or so, to people that are interested in trying out ZenVR. You can go to zenvrApp.com/giveaway and do the different social media liking things, joining our Discord, liking us on Facebook, for a chance to get a free copy of ZenVR. And well, I guess that's my plug for that.
Awesome.
But I would also invite like anyone that's interested in just having these discussions. Hey, you don't need the app to join our Discord. We would love to have you. I post stuff in there pretty frequently. Sometimes it's music, like Zen related music. Sometimes it's like quotes from various teachers. Sometimes I try to open up discussions, and just honestly, as people start to meditate, sometimes stuff comes up in their practice that they just want to talk about. A lot of meditation and a lot of Buddhism is this dialogue with a teacher, with someone that you can relate to, and with other students. The word used for that in Buddhism is sangha, this network, this community of people around this topic. And so we're kind of trying to build that in our Discord. And so if you find yourself starting to meditate and you don't know where to go, if you have tough things that you struggle with, even if you don't use ZenVR, our app, our curriculum, that's fine. We'd love to have you in our community, in our Discord. Like, please feel free to ask questions, talk to us. We love it.
Awesome. Thank you, Matt. Now I'm going to give a few shout outs that I think are totally appropriate for how this meeting came to be. I love to cultivate the connections that got us to certain points like this one. So I want to draw it back to Diana Olinik, who did a health and wellness week, and you were one of the presenters, and I went and saw you there because I was curious. So thank you to Diana for organizing that event and for putting Matt on the microphone to say some really interesting things about Zen Buddhism and other things. And then, of course, Rick Castile and Nicholas Johansson and everyone in XR for the XR for Work community. That's, I think, where I first heard of you, Matt. And those are really great friends. So you never get to these great conversations just spontaneously. There's always some story of how. So I'm really fortunate to those people to have helped us get here.
Let me throw another one on there too. The People in Spatial Ape. It's this weekly VR trade show. And we actually started doing a Consciousness Corner, where every week before main Spatial Ape, we'll be doing a conversation with kind of a guided topic, either myself or a couple other guys from sort of mindfulness related VR apps are leading a discussion and talking about some really, really interesting topics in the space. So if you want to check that out and you have a VR headset, it doesn't cost you anything to come and talk to us, and we'd love to talk to you.
And that's I think that's 12 p.m. Pacific time, so 3 p.m. Eastern, if I'm not mistaken. The Consciousness Corner within Spatial Ape VR
on Thursdays.
On Thursdays, correct. Absolutely. Yep. That's another great place, and I also am a big fan and grateful for the guys at Spatial Ape. Yeah. Now, Matt, thank you so much for coming on, shedding some light on ZenVR. I'm sure everyone's questions have been answered, but if you have other questions you'd like to ask Matt or me, or you'd just like to know more about ZenVR, Matt, how do we find you?
All right. So we have a ZenVR Facebook page. We have a ZenVR Instagram, LinkedIn, all the big socials. Our Discord is probably the best way to get a quick answer from us. But if you message us on any of those platforms, we will get back to you ASAP. If you want to reach me directly, you can send an email to info@zenvrapp.com. And I think we have a contact page on our website, zenvrapp.com. And you can send us an email, sign up for our mailing list, get in contact with me. I would love to talk to any single person that is interested in ZenVR. I will talk to you. Probably too much.
Amazing. And in case I didn't say it at the beginning, my name is Jeff Weiser, CEO of Go-to-Market Translations and Consulting. It's Matt Golino.
Thank you very much for having me, Jeff. Really, really enjoyed being here.
Likewise. Fantastic time. See you later.
Bye.